What is Firewatch? You could say it's an experimental approach to the story-driven experiences in games that we're used to. You could say that it's a relatable tale that manages to encapsulate the humanity of our lives better than most virtual worlds have in the past. However, you could also say that it fits the description of tripping at the finish line, that the game had all the parts in place to produce an unforgettable experience, but that it ultimately fell flat in the end, leaving only disappointment as a result. Back in 2012, one of the biggest surprises in recent memory was the arrival of Telltale's The Walking Dead. Even though its gameplay attributes were as bare bones as it could be, it showcased a strength in its narrative. Two of the creative leads from that game, Jake Rodkin and Sean Vanaham, would leave to form the new studio Campo Santo. With a small team, the new developmental group set out to create their own take on interactive fiction, but this time based almost strictly on player engagement rather than the cutscenes and QuickTime events found in Telltale games. The first aspect design was the constant interaction with the walkie-talkies, which was inspired from the conversations between the protagonist and Atlas in BioShock. Then came the setting, in which the vacant forestry of Wyoming was designated for the game's location, inspired from two employees, including Vanaham, childhood experience. Restricting the perspective to first person was chosen to not only avoid unnecessary lip syncing, but to also enhance the narrative in the direction that they wanted. Firewatch saw an announcement in 2014 with the intent on shipping sometime in 2015, but it would not actually see release until February of 2016.
People take this job to get away from something. So what's wrong?
What's wrong with you?
That's a great idea. Go ahead.
Welcome to the heart of Wyoming, also known as that US state that everybody forgets about. The year is 1989, and you are thrown into the forest regions of the vacant state. You are Henry. As a fire lookout, you are the only person out in this wild. At least you're supposed to be. While you start out just investigating some teenagers messing around amongst the wilderness, a legitimate threat begins to arise in the wake of the idea that there may be someone else out there. All of this is driven through your conversations with your superior, Delilah. Now, even though Henry never actually sees the face of a fellow human being during his time out here, Delilah is just important in terms of the narrative's arc. The story is almost entirely told through their walkie-talkie conversations, which is a good showcase of the game's impressive writing and great performance from the actors. Now, where the story actually loses me is how it handles all of its narrative's various arcs. There's a commendable establishment of the game's themes and characters at the start. For the first 2/3 or so of the game, I was very interested to see where it was going. However, for that last third, it proved to be an absolute train wreck. This game's only about 5 hours long, give or take, but the end portions just came off as completely rushed to me. The final reveal, if you can call it that, was incredibly underwhelming, and even the way they chose to present that reveal was very poor. Maybe this was part of their original vision, I don't know, but I can't think of the last time I left an ending of a game as disappointed as I was here. Just keep in mind that Firewatch is a completely story-driven experience. There's little replay value, it's very short, and there's next to no side content. That said, Firewatch never led too heavily on its story-laden material in the form of intrusive cinematics, which is where it shines its most ingenious aspects. I've never really seen a game present itself like this before, and it's refreshing, but that doesn't automatically excuse it with its issues. Now, for the most part, the gameplay consists of roaming the forest regions of Wyoming setting, but there's little exploration here, and when you can do that, there's little incentive to explore. All of the collectibles only provide further background on the story. That's it, and if the idea of further establishing the game's lore intrigues you, then go right ahead. However, going out of your way to discover that lore may be troublesome. Firewatch gives you a kind of Marauders map to track your positioning across the map, and I have to say, I commend them for giving the player something a little different, but I don't think it was necessary. I understand that they wanted to authenticate the actual exploration as much as possible, but I just often found myself getting lost most of the time. To the game's credit, they were pretty good with getting you back on track via walkie-talkie hints, but it was just tedious for me at the end of the day. Now, I also found the game's choice system to be a fair bit underused territory. The Walking Dead was almost solely about player choice, and it seemed like Firewatch was heading in that direction as well, but the final impact was almost non-existent. In fact, aside from a few branching dialogue sections, I don't believe there was a single decision that meant anything. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying every title needs to force a mechanic down its throat like that, but It's just perplexing because it really seemed like Firewatch was heading in that direction. Firewatch attains an astounding art style. Now, apparently the whole game derived from a single painting, and it shows here. The visual approach with its focus on specified lighting and colors is nothing but appealing. My technical issue that I did have with this game lies with its performance. Now, I've heard the PS4 version had encountered its own little set of problems. Now, the patches may or may not have fixed that, but I heard that at launch it was a problem. But this is not the version I played. I played the PC version, and I feel the PC version is a bit unoptimized. Now, I'll admit, I don't currently hold the optimum build on the market. Now, I have a GTX 760 as a video card, but Firewatch doesn't strike me as a demanding game. This is only the second title I've had to put settings significantly down because of FPS issues, the only other one being the Division's beta. Maybe I'm underestimating the power required to run a game like this in 2016, and I'll be the first to admit that I am not an expert on this matter at all, but I think some work may need to go into making the game perform better on a larger range of machines. I wanted to like Firewatch a lot more than I did. Maybe I personally hyped myself way too much because of its coverage on Giant Bomb, but I found the entire experience to be extremely underwhelming by the time the credits rolled. Firewatch has a lot going for it, and if nothing else, it's worth noting that there's nothing else quite like it out there. If mere intrigue is enough for you to want to pick it up, then by all means look into breaking into its $20 asking price. However, if you're like me, then perhaps it would be better to leave it in a way just like the state it's based in. Completely forgotten.